That was a nice move by Pipkins, taking it right to the rack himself. Wide open three, left wing, and it's good. Nylon, the dunk likes that, Matt.
A three from the right side, and it's good! The one, Pipkins, go man, yet again.
Hello and welcome to The Flex. I'm Matt St. Jean.
Joe Howie.
Yeah, this is a very disappointing day in Friartown. Providence falls 73-72 at Georgetown, and the Friars blew a 15-point first half lead to what is probably the worst team in the Big East right now. Georgetown had not won a game since December. This is their first game out of a long COVID pause, and it comes down to the wire. David Duke misses one free throw, and that's the game.
I mean, as disappointing as losses go, this one is 10 times that. One, because it's a great performance by A.J. Reeves that was so long overdue. Seeing him score with confidence, seeing him stroke it from beyond the arc, playing downhill was a sight for sore eyes for every Friar fan and for Reeves himself. And to just throw this one away defensively is an absolute joke. That's a joke because you've got a guy who has obviously had his struggles, and you can't make up for him on the defensive end. I mean, Georgetown was getting their points at ease in the paint. At ease. Yeah. They were walking into the paint and scoring, and we had no answer.
Yeah, Ed Cooley just said in his post-game press conference, I thought we were incredibly soft today. We did not earn a road win. The free throw didn't lose the game.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. And in the heat of the moment, sure, a lot of fans will be mad at Duke for missing the free throw. But if you're up 15 against the worst team in the conference, it shouldn't come down to a free throw to force overtime. Yeah. That's the bottom line. It's not Duke's fault. Duke didn't lose the game.
And I think it was pretty clear once the Friars got up 15, they thought the game was over and played like it was over. And that's Cooley said it's bad habits. That's the problem right now down low. And Friars lost the rebound advantage by 14. Got out rebounded 47-33 and gave up 17 offensive rebounds to Georgetown. They got 13 second chance points off of those, so not like the best bang for your buck there from Georgetown, but I mean, I think it starts right there. You can't play that soft on the glass and expect to win.
You talk about playing soft, and Matt, you brought up a great point. After we put up that 15-point lead, we acted like the game was over. I think that starts at the top too. We're up 15, and the lineup on the floor is Bryson Goodine, Allen Breed, A.J. Reeves, Gant, and I think it was Ed Croswell. And now listen, not all those guys are like bottom of the bucket kind of players, but to sub out basically all your starters except for Breed and Reeves and put in the guys farthest down on the bench in the first half, that's a little too cocky, and it's just premature. Yeah. That's when we lost the game, because that's when 15 turned to 10, 10 turned to 6, 6 turned to 4. That's what happened. And then at the end of the second half, you're scrambling with your starters back in.
And it was a 4-point lead at the half for the Friars. But if you look at the splits by half, the Friars definitely controlled the first half. But the shooting was almost identical in the second half. 3-point shooting was almost identical. And that's where Georgetown got 11 of their 17 offensive rebounds. And then you talk about physicality. I want to talk about the other thing that we talked about in the pregame show. Georgetown's defense fouls people like crazy and sends them to the line. The Friars only shot 11 free throws on the game and only four free throw attempts in the second half. When you're not playing well, like the thing that got the Friars off to such a hot start, first play of the game, what do? You run a play down low for A.J. Reeves, get him a quick bucket. You're playing down low, you're playing where you're going to draw fouls and stuff. And the Friars didn't really get back to that when things got tough. And that's where the team, this is kind of the team's identity this year. When things get tough, they have seemed at times to shrivel up instead of buckling down.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very difficult to look back at this night, especially for A.J. Reeves, and think that was a great performance for him, because it was completely tainted by our soft defensive play. I mean, we were soft to the worst team in the Big East that's coming off of COVID. So it's not like they had a month off to practice. They had a month off to recover from an illness, and they came back and gave it to us in the paint.
And
Disgusting.
it's it's not any one player. Georgetown had 6 different players with at least 5 rebounds.
That's
It's
terrible.
yeah. And then another factor with this, Nate Watson. Man, I mean, 12 points, so good there, but 5 fouls. He fouled out all 5 in the second half. So when the Friars needed him most and needed to have that paint presence, he disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, it seems the past 2 games, our opponents have scouted for Watson. He only put up 12 again. That's a lower scoring offensive night for him. But the foul trouble that's something you'd see from Jimmy Nichols or even Greg Gant, like one of those longer guys that gets called for a nickel dimer. But Watson, it was very surprising. Very
And Gant
surprising.
Gant also had 4 this afternoon. So a couple guys there in foul trouble, and that's again, it's the little things. The Friars aren't doing well, and if you want to go to the captain of the ship right now when it comes to the guys on the floor, David Duke, by far his worst game of the season, could not have come at a worse time. Just 2 of 11 from the field. Both of those made field goals were dunks. So the only actual made basket he had where he's shooting the ball was one of his 2 free throws. One of his 2 free throw attempts. That was it. The only shot he made that wasn't a dunk.
Yeah, Matt, you're right. The only points that Duke scored that wasn't from the line were dunks. It was a very poor night to be David Duke. I mean, I don't even know how to wrap my head around this one other than poor defense, wasted performance by AJ Reeves, and this is the type of game where you're itching, you're crawling your way back inside the bubble. You shoot yourself in the foot and you fall completely off the bubble. Like it's almost like these analysts like Joe Lunardi, Mike DeCourcy, like they want us to get in. They're rooting for us. They keep pushing us first 4 in, last 4 out, something anything along those lines, and we just keep letting go. It's almost like we don't want to make the tournament at this point.
Yeah.
It's like we won at Creighton. Let's the rest of the season.
Because the road is going to get a lot tougher from here, not in terms of the games getting harder, but you really can't afford many more losses for the rest of the season, if any. That loss to Georgetown is the one thing you couldn't have. I mean, we talked about it at length in the pregame show, but this is one of those years where, all right, you're not going to have the big wins, so you got to have all of the small wins to make up for it. Well, there goes one of the small wins, so now you need at least one more big win. And that's probably at UConn or versus Villanova. You have to win one of those 2 now and win the other games.
Not to mention you have to beat Georgetown again, or you
If
have to
that game gets played.
Excuse me, you have to play Georgetown again because we didn't beat them the first time. Well, the only good thing that comes out of this is now Georgetown is not the worst team in the conference because DePaul only has 1 conference win, as I'm looking at the standings right now. But we continue to do this season where we climb up to become flat in conference play, which means 5-5 or 4-4, whatever. We lose a game that you shouldn't lose. Your overall record gets closer to 500. You flatten yourselves out again and you lose. I'd like to see us at least once this season go over 500 in conference play, please, just for the fans once. If you're gonna lose games like this that are gonna knock you out of the tournament, at least go over 500 in conference play. We have the talent to do that.
Yeah,
man, this is a very frustrating season.
Yeah, and you're seeing the trend against the bottom of the Big East right now, where it's your bottom 4 of Butler, St. John's, DePaul, and Georgetown. Well, Friars split with Butler, got taken to double overtime at home against DePaul, and now have a loss to Georgetown. That's not where you want to be. St. John's is a competitive team. They just won at UConn last week, 2 weeks ago. So getting 2 wins against St. John's is no sure thing. And you still have to travel to DePaul. Who knows if that game against Georgetown gets rescheduled? You got a chance. I mean, the Friars are looking at going under 500 against the bottom tier of the Big East. But that's within the realm of possibility now if they keep playing like this.
the inconsistencies of this team are just, it's just killing us. I can't even fathom the right words to say right now. I'm so floored at this loss.
Mm.
And
And it, yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, the Friars, I mean, at the end of the day, too, it doesn't come down to those free throws at the end. But what we said is you have to get back to fundamentals. If Duke hits both of those free throws, maybe we're talking about something different. Like, this is one of those where a point or two is really all that matters. Like we said, doesn't matter how it looks. You just have to find a way to win it. And I mean, how many shots did the Friars miss late in this game?
Too many.
Far too many. Let's
It
see, looking at this. Yeah, I mean, over the last minute 16, Georgetown hit 1 jumper and 3 free throws, and the Friars had 1 layup and 1 free throw. And this is, I mean, that's after Duke had that fast break dunk to put the Friars up 69-68. After that, things just dried up. You can't go scoreless, or you can't go almost scoreless over the last 2 minutes.
So I agree. This is another example where it looks like, and I'm talking big picture here, it looks like we've learned from these late game losses and we learned how to win games in the end, and then you just don't. And I'm gonna keep going back to this point because Ed Cooley made a great point in the post game presser that Duke's missed free throw didn't lose the game. So you put yourself in that position to lose at the end of the game by playing poor defense and just going to sleep offensively. I mean, to shoot the lights out first half, go up 15, and then lackadaisically just flaunt through the rest of the game. Come on, you
Yep.
wanna make an argument that you're a top 4, top 3 seed in the conference. Play like it, act like it. It's Georgetown, and we said this. We said in the pregame show, Georgetown has talented players, and they will make this a difficult game. We said there were 2 scenarios. One where it's pretty and AJ Reeves goes off and has fun. He was my X factor, and we saw that in the first half. And that's the game that should have continued in the second half. And then we saw another game where a scrappy Georgetown team makes it closer than it should be, and Friar fans come away, either with a win that's ugly or with a loss that's ugly. Unfortunately for us, it was a loss that's ugly. This is Georgetown's arguably their best win in the season.
Yep. And
Because
it was, yeah.
Not
I mean,
only
the Friars. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, and I think it comes down in a lot of ways to defense. We saw the Friars defense give Villanova fits for a half. You go to Georgetown, and it was pretty easy for them. It's not like a fantastic shooting day, but only 7 turnovers, and they got a whole bunch of assists, 16 assists. They were able to get the offensive rebounds. You didn't make life difficult for them. They could get what they wanted to and get the second opportunities they needed and get the points. And 73 points isn't anything fantastic, but Providence's defense should not be allowing that many to a team like Georgetown. You just can't.
No, it's just unacceptable. I mean, the storyline of the season for Georgetown has been build up first half lead and drop it. And Providence was probably like, hold my beer, let me try that. That was,
Yeah.
And looking ahead, coming off of a brutal loss like this, the road doesn't get any easier. And the worst part about it is the next 3 games are at home against opponents that are going to take you to the wire. In Seton Hall Wednesday, St. John Saturday, and then Connecticut the following Wednesday. Those aren't going to be easy games for the Friars. And forget Seton Hall and St. John's. Connecticut's going to give you a run for their money. It's coached by Dan Hurley, who Ed Cooley has a rivalry with, and this is the first meeting of the two since the reconfiguration of the Big East. So guess what? It's going to be a barn burner. Everyone's going to want to see that game. Connecticut's going to come out firing.
And here's something for you. Connecticut, they're 5th best in the nation when it comes to offensive rebounding percentage. If the Friars don't tighten the things up in a hurry, that game is going to be ugly for Providence. That's going to be a long night. You're going to get blown out in your own building because you're going to have a UConn team that comes in. Georgetown just got 17 offensive rebounds. Georgetown. You play like that against UConn, they're going to get anything that they want. You're barely going to see the basketball.
Yeah. This was coming off of that loss at Villanova. This was a 5-game stretch that looked to be very favorable for Providence, especially game 1 against Marquette. You beat them by 9. in gritty overtime fashion. That was the Providence team that everyone's been waiting to see. David Duke lights it up. You have role player contributions, and then to come here and to fall asleep against Georgetown. That this was one, it was a trap game, and we fell into the trap so easily. But two, it completely screws up what could have been a very, very favorable, momentum shifting, season changing 5 game swing for the Friars. But now, coming off of this is momentum in the wrong way.
Yeah. Realistically, I think the Friars can only afford one more loss the rest of the season now.
I agree. I agree.
If you
You
want to
don't
make the
have.
tournament, if that's the goal.
That's always the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, you sign Ed Cooley to this big contract, and he comes out and he says the goal is to have the Providence Friars compete for championships.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it doesn't look like they're going to compete for a championship.
No.
Maybe they can make a run in the Big East tournament as like a 7 seed, but that's right now, that's where my thoughts are at. Now, given there are plenty of opportunities, and that's the beauty of the Big East, is that you get to play everyone twice. But if you continue to play inconsistent like this, it's going to be a very, very long second half of conference play for the Providence Friars. Very long and very agitating. If you continue to play inconsistent, what needs to happen now, David Duke's got to get on his horse. You can't put up a 30-point performance and then shoot yourself in the foot and only hit 2 from the field. Can't do that. AJ Reeves, keep it up. He's on an upwards trend right now. 13 and then 28. That's his last 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with Watson, but you got to get him back on his horse too.
Yeah. I mean, this is starting to feel a little bit more like 2019 than 2020 right now in terms of how the team is playing.
You know,
and obviously that's how it felt in 2020 until they turned it around. But I don't know if I'm seeing the signs that they're going to turn it around right now.
Ever since Cartwright, Lindsay, and Bullock left, you always get this feeling in the pit of your stomach that, you know, these losses are just going to continue to add up. And we saw that in the 2018-2019 season. Last season, it felt like that until Lawan Pipkins and Alpha Diallo turned the switch on. But the problem is the switch has been on for Duke and Watson. No one else has the switch on. Everyone's off. Reeves is starting to turn it on. You've got some other guys. I think Horkler played a big role today. I thought Nichols was severely underused in favor of Greg Gant. I understand the logic behind it. Nichols was a liability on defense, and Greg is a little more defensively sound. But in terms of scoring, I think Nichols has the clear advantage over Gant. So that was kind of that was mind-boggling. Gant also picked up 4 fouls. This was the first game Nichols wasn't in foul trouble with only 2.
Yeah. Definitely lots of questionable rotation decisions from Ed Cooley about who ended up out there on the floor. And really, the only bright thing you can see looking forward is that Bynum should hopefully come back at some point this season. And if he does come back, then that lifts some of the load off of Breed and off of Duke. I mean, Breed had double figures again today, so that's a positive. And obviously Reeves, 28 points, 1 short of his career high. 2 positives there, but it's tough to be happy with that, with a loss like this.
Yeah, I mean, this game gives me flashbacks to that 2-game skid last season at Xavier, at St. John's back-to-back.
This felt a little bit like that St. John's game.
Right. Because, well, that was a different game. I think we trailed for most of that St. John's game. But this is that point. This is a very critical point in the season for us right now. Very critical, because at that St. John's game, looking ahead, you had 6 games left. I think 3 were against ranked opponents, and then you threw in Georgetown and DePaul. You had to win all 6 of them to make an argument for yourself for the NCAA tournament, and they did it. What worries me about this team is I don't know if we have the capacity to do it. And that's no disrespect to any of the players, because I think Nate Watson definitely has the capacity. Duke has the capacity. Reeves has the capacity. The problem is you need your other guys to step up, and everyone needs to step up at the same time. You can't have one person put up 30 one night while everyone else, doesn't do anything, like tonight.
And we thought coming into this season, the 1, 2, 3, and 5 in the lineup are set, and you should have 2 good options at the 4. And what we have right now is 3 options that can play the 4. None of them seem to be particularly good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Horkler was probably the best out of the three tonight. I
I
mean,
agree.
he posterized Qudus Wahab. That was great. He made a three. Um, he's a little sloppy with the fouls and a little sloppy on defense, but I
Mhm.
think overall he had the best performance of Nichols and Gant. And I mean, just by minute allocation, Gant had the second best performance because he outplayed Jimmy Nichols and just in terms of minutes.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think
it was.
Nichols has the potential.
Horkler played 25 minutes. Gant played 15. Nichols played just 8. And I think most of that was because of his defense. His offense looked good, but his defense was really not good. Gant missed shots too. I mean, Gant had an opportunity for a late two and missed it.
Yeah.
And Horkler, I mean, he hit a couple of shots, but also 2 of 8 from the field. So you can't have guys that are bad on offense and defense at that position. And most importantly, I mean, Horkler had 7 rebounds and led the team, which was good. But Nichols didn't get a rebound. Gant only had 2. And they're not really a presence in the paint whatsoever.
Yeah, Matt. I think the narrative post Cartwright era. So the Cartwright era is like that signifies the end of like the point guard dynasty at Providence before Duke came in. I
Hmm.
think post Cartwright era, the issue was finding someone to take the reins in the backcourt. We had a lot of trouble with the balance of Makai Ashton Langford and Duke. Then you had Pipkins and White. Now you've got Duke, Breed, Bynum again, another three-headed monster. But they seem to have it down pat. I mean, I don't think our issues lie in the backcourt. It lies in the front court at the four.
Hmm.
We are sorely missing the defensive presences or presence. I don't know. I don't know how you say that plurally, but of Alpha Diallo and Khalif Young, because
Yeah.
those guys were defensively sound in the paint, and that was the difference maker late in the season last year. Those
Hmm.
two.
Yeah.
And
No, I
listen,
mean
that's no
that's
disrespect to Watson because he's a big body in the paint, but at the
yeah.
four spot, it's completely revolving door. Come on in and score in the paint on the Friars.
Yeah. And that's where they're at right now. So that's that's the season. That's where we're at. We know what this team is, and if you can't fix that, then the Friars are going to go sub 500 in conference play in all likelihood, roughly split their games down the stretch, and play in the NIT or something or whatever. I think they're doing the NIT this year. So I don't know. We're going to see what happens. It's a loss, so we're not giving out a game ball for it. No MVP of this one.
No.
But Friars will return to action on Wednesday night at home against Seton Hall. They did already win at Seton Hall. Now every game's a must win. So you're going to be hearing from us between now and then about that one. But Friars fall to Georgetown 73-72 on the road, blowing a 15-point lead and wasting a 28-point performance from AJ Reeves.
That's just one more note before we end. That's what's so devastating about this season too is it's very rare that you get these guys, these players that can put up north of 25 points a game in the 30s area. Like I think right now we've capitalized on two stellar performances from Duke when we played Marquette just recently and Watson at Creighton. But otherwise, we're taking these career nights for our guys and flushing them down the toilet. I mean, look at James Bouknight. He put up 40 when they played Creighton the first time. Now he's injured. Like
Mhm.
these types of performances from players in the Big East don't come often, and so far we've wasted half of them. We have
Yep.
4 games where a player scored north of 25. 2 of them we flushed down the toilet. You can't do that. You just can't. You
Yeah.
got to capitalize.
Yeah. Friars definitely have to be better at that. David Duke is going to have to rebound in that next game. So make sure you are following us on Twitter at the Flex Hoops so you will hear when that episode comes out and you can hear all of our commentary on it. As always, for Joe Howie, I am Matt St. Jean, and thank you for listening.
Go Friars.